These are 6 beliefs you need to break in order to get scholarship offers. These are things that I hear parents saying all the time that lead them to believe that the universe is conspiring against them to make it impossible for their kid to play at the next level, right? And so I want to talk about these things and show you why they're actually holding you back and how you should be thinking about the process instead. So the first one is, my high school coach is useless. So parents will say something like, our high school coach is not helpful at all. He says he's working on behalf of the kids, but I don't see it. If he would get up off the couch and make a few phone calls, we'd be in a completely different position. Here's the thing. Please stop relying on your high school coach or your travel coach to deliver college coaches directly to your door, right? The fact of the matter is that no one is going to care more about your kid and their future more than you will. They just won't. Like, it's your kid. And those travel coaches or high school coaches have other players in their organizations. They're trying to run their business or do their job or whatever it is, and they're not going to go make 50 calls on your behalf. They're just not. And so you cannot rely entirely upon that coach to deliver a whole bunch of schools to your door. Like, it's just not going to happen. So instead, educate yourself on recruiting and learn how to generate interest. The good news is that you can generate most, if not all, of the interest and offers that you want in college recruiting yourself. Like, you can. You just have to learn how to actually navigate through the recruiting process. Now, is your high school coach going to play a role? Yes. College coaches are probably going to want to talk to them. They are going to play a role. But my thing is, I just don't want you to completely offload the recruiting process to a high school coach whose main priority in life is not getting your kid to the next level. It's just not. Like, take control of your kid's future, take control of their destiny and their recruiting process, educate yourself on how it actually works, and then put in daily consistent actions to turn that, principle into an actual reality. Second thing, emailing college coaches doesn't work. Right? They say something like, we've sent emails out. Most of the schools didn't respond at all. And the ones that did just sent us a generic camp invite that they send to everybody. I don't think email works. So I went directly to our email tracker and I screenshotted the number of interested college coaches that we've had in the last few weeks. Okay. So I pulled it and it said 71. Now, this doesn't include everybody because there are some clients who are not on that email tracker. So it's probably more than that. But even if it's just 71, right? Email absolutely works, because why would a college coach not open an email if the player plays a position in grad class that coach is recruiting for their team, and potentially that player could save them from having to fly all the way across the country to go recruit someone else if they can't find anyone via email, right? And so why would they not take the 30 seconds to just see if that player solves their problem? Right? And so email absolutely works, even from just a logical standpoint. Why would a coach not take the 30 seconds to do that? And so if someone says that email doesn't work, it's because they either don't know how to do it well, they have bad video, or they have unrealistic expectations of their kid's ability to play at the next level. So if you're saying this, or you have a friend who's saying this, it's not because email doesn't work. It just means however you're doing email right now is what's not working. Now, the good news is that's a solvable problem. Like, you can do email better than what you're doing it right now. You just have to learn how to do that, right? And so email absolutely still works. If you have the script in your head saying that it doesn't work, that's a limitation that is keeping you from a really good avenue and a really good way of generating interest in college recruiting. Third thing, only the big travel teams get looks. They'll say something like, hey, we've been to all the big showcases. College coaches only watch the players from the big organizations. None of the lesser known players get a look, even if they're more talented. If only we were on a better travel team. I'm about to sneeze. Here's the thing. College coaches flock to where the good players are. Wherever a good player is, I promise you, college coaches will go there. Now, if they don't know about good players on small teams, like if they don't know that there is a really good player on a really small team, they have to go wherever the safest bet is. And in that case, it's the big teams who have a track record of players going on to play at high levels, right? Just logically, that's what they would do. But if you're good and you prove it with video and you let coaches know where you're going to be, I promise you they will show up even if you're on a small team. The only reason they're not is because they don't know that you exist. And so instead, they're just going to go where they think the highest output of good players is going to be. It's not that. It's big team versus small team, and small team players just never get recruited. It's that those players have a harder time getting put on the map. So that is also a solvable problem, not just by you then moving from a small team to a big team, but by still you being on a small team, doing a better job of getting exposure to college coaches and marketing yourself or your kid as a player, right? And the better marketing that you do there, even if you play for a small team, you'll still have a lot of conversations started with coaches, and they'll come watch your kid if they really are that good. It's less about the size of the team and more about how much marketing you need to do based on the team that you're playing for. If they would just get to know my kid, right? So parents will say, hey, if I could just get these coaches in a room with my kid, they'd see what they're missing out on. Like, he's got amazing game IQ, he sees the field differently than other players. Like, there's just no way to showcase that. Here's the harsh reality. Coaches evaluate talent first. Nothing else, not personality, not culture fit, not academics. They evaluate talent first, because the fact is, if they got to know every kid that contacted them before they evaluated talent, and they spent all the time learning about the kid, and if they did that for every player before they evaluated talent, they'd waste a lot of time recruiting kids that have zero chance of playing at their school. Because the fact is that most players who reach out to college coaches are not good enough to play at the schools that they're reaching out to. And so a college coach, if they got 100 emails from players and they didn't vet talent before they recruited those players, they'd end up recruiting 100 players, and like 95 of them wouldn't even be able to sniff their program or their school. Right? That makes no sense. So they're going to evaluate talent first. And so if you're saying, hey, I feel like, I just need to get them in a room with my kid, then they would understand. I'm sure your kid is awesome. Like, I'm sure. But it might mean that the talent is not quite at the level that you think it is. Right? Because the harsh reality is that there are a lot of parents who say, look, my kid just doesn't stack up well measurably. Like, that's just not really where they're at. Maybe if it's a baseball player and it's a pitcher, they're like, well, my kid only throws like 84, 85, right? But they get outs. Their ERA is really good. Yeah, but like, they're performing in high school. That's not necessarily an indicator that they're going to perform at the next level. College coaches know that 84 is probably not going to play at the next level. Whereas even if you have a kid who's throwing, he's throwing 90 miles an hour, but he might have a higher ERA, if they can mold and develop that kid, that kid has a better chance of performing at the next level. So they're going to evaluate talent first. Now, all of those other things that make your kid incredible, those are going to be the intangibles that put them ahead of someone else of similar talent who doesn't have those things. If you have two players, both of them throw 90 miles an hour as a pitcher, and one of them has the intangibles that your kid has and the other one doesn't, they're going to recruit your kid, right? That gives them a huge advantage, but they have to evaluate talent first. And that is always going to be the first conversation that they are going to have with you, or that they are looking for, is, can this kid play at my school? Are they in the ballpark talent range of what I'm looking for? You have to address that first. You cannot try to address a talent hole with a personality solution. It's just not going to happen. Is it too late? Let's say coaches are already done recruiting our class. We started too late. There's nothing that we can do. Okay. Yes, there are more spots available earlier in the process. Like, the earlier that you start in college recruiting, the easier it will be, and the higher, the higher likelihood that you will get a spot or scholarship of some sort. But what's the alternative to starting late? You're like, oh, I'm starting late. What, are you just going to give up? You're like, oh, all right, it's not even worth trying. That's lame. Like, don't do that. Kids get opportunities late in the game all the time. It's harder. The process gets significantly harder as you get deeper into the process, but it's not impossible. We've had second semester seniors get D1 scholarship, D1 scholarships to football programs, to baseball programs. Like, that's happened. It's harder though. Like, it's way, way harder. And even for me, like me personally, I got, my story is very long, and so I'm going to try to make this super brief, but I got medically disqualified from West Point, in July. And then I had an offer from Oregon like a few days later. And so a month and a half before I was supposed to step on campus, I under scholarship to play Division I baseball at the University of Oregon. A month and a half before. Now, Do I recommend that? Of course I don't recommend that. Like, it's going to be incredibly difficult, and the odds of that happening are so small. So no, I don't recommend that, but I also don't recommend giving up because it's too late. There are lots of players who have been very late in the process but get, offers to awesome schools simply because they put in the work and they actually just tried it to see if there was something that they can do. So even if you're late in the game, you should still be in the arena. Like, you should still be playing the game because it's entirely possible that you get a great opportunity. And then last one, I need to figure it out. Maybe tomorrow, right? Parents will be like, look, I just need to figure this thing out. Like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm anxious. I just need to figure it out. But we've got so much going on around the house with all the kids. Like, maybe tomorrow. I can't do it today. Maybe tomorrow. And then the next day, they're like, maybe tomorrow. And then maybe tomorrow. And it just keeps getting pushed off. But like we talked about just now, the later that you go in recruiting, the harder that it gets. So every day that you push it off, the harder it gets. So instead, attack the problem head on and start making little incremental bits of progress. And then the process gets easier as you gain momentum. It snowballs, but you can't get the snowball effect if you never start in the first place. And so don't wait in college recruiting. Start now. Like, start attacking it little by little right now. The longer that you put it off, the harder that it's going to be. Okay. If you are the parent of a high school athlete in college recruiting and you need help and you want us to hold your hand through the process and basically put you on the fast track so that you can skip all the stuff that wastes you money and that wastes your time and makes you super anxious, and instead you would like to use your money efficiently, you would like to get your kid to a school that they love and hopefully generate a lot of interest and offers, then I'll leave a link in the description to book a call with us. We'll walk you through what we do, and I will see you guys next time.